Good morning and good afternoon for some of you. I'm going to give it just a couple of more seconds as we let all the participants join.
Oh,
All
Dustin
right.
gets the
Well,
award for first comment.
yes, I see that. Well, let's get started. We've got an hour of fantastic content. So without further ado, welcome everybody to today's Social Media University session, the Unscrollable brand. Super, super excited about today's guest speaker. I met Kat Torrey at an event 3 years ago, and she really stood out, and I knew I had to get her in front of this group someday. She gets branding, she gets storytelling, and she knows how to make content actual content. So that's a majority of our topic today. Kat is the founder of The Brand Architect. She's a consulting brand director. She's the head coach of training and content at Ryan Serhant Sell It, which is pretty cool. She's also the host of two incredible podcasts, Your Life Rebranded and Not Nice, Clever. She's also been featured in Forbes as well as some other magazines. She's she's fantastic. I just love her. I follow her on Instagram. I feel like I know her. She works with real estate professionals, luxury brands, and she's helping them evolve their brand voice and stand out. And that's why I brought her in today, guys. So start taking notes. We've got 45 minutes of content. At the end, we've got a Q&A. So make sure you ask tons of questions because we've got Kat for the next hour. So without further ado, Kat Torrey, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Kaja, and thank you everyone who is donating their precious time, which I can't promise more of, but I can promise more clarity and more conviction in joining us today. So I will say that we've got 45 minutes of content, 15 minutes of Q&A, but don't allow that to hold you back from dropping questions in the chat as they come up. I love kind of weaving the Q&A throughout. That way, this can really feel sticky and relevant and tangible and helpful. So, as we're kicking off, I would love to hear in the chat two things. One, where is everyone joining from today? Because we have such a vast national expansive network. Drop city and or state in the chat here. I'm coming at you live from Philly. Oh, we've got lots of California. I'm from San Francisco originally. Lived in DC and Miami and Portland, Oregon. So I love seeing where people are joining from. Santa Rosa, Wichita, Kansas. Love it. Chandler, Arizona, Florida, South Florida. Amazing. Colorado, Yosemite. Oh, Yosemite, Yosemite. Uh, SF Bay Area. Mike, love it. That's exactly where I grew up. Castle Rock, amazing. So many incredible places. Miami, of course, Franklin. I love it. So, as you're dropping where you're joining from in the chat, I'd also love for you to drop an emoji about how you're feeling today, about content. Drop whatever emoji most exemplifies how you're feeling. For me, it is definitely the fire emoji. I'm going to put that in there. Stephanie's got the stars. We've got the celebration. Alexander has the I don't know if this is true or not yet true, kind of like monocle smiley. So I love that. And we're going to get started today. So, the Unscrollable brand, I find it really interesting. I was reading a case study as recently as yesterday talking about how there might be a social media recession on our hands. And I think that that is actually a good thing because what I want to accomplish by the end of today and to instill in you is that you don't need to do more on social media. People doing more and more of more is why people are like leaning back or scrolling past or putting on mute, feeling like what's being put out there is noise and not of something of value. And so today I want to give you full permission to do less at the end of this training and to be able to make more of an impact. Because I think when there is a recession, there is opportunity for people to really stand out and to say less but mean more. And so that is my intention for today. I want you to feel like you don't have to be doing all of the things and not sure if it's really working, but to do just a few core things that are going to make a difference that I know and have seen move the needle for my own business and brand. And I've seen it work for my clients as well. And I want it to work for all 134 of you that are live here on the call, as well as anybody catching the replay. So let's continue here. Let's talk about, oops, did I go too fast? I didn't. There we go. Why you're getting scrolled past, right? Because that's always the thing. We put all this effort, we put all this energy into creating content. And these are the reasons really why I see people scrolling past is because your audience isn't not interested in what you have to offer. That's us being our own worst enemy in our minds. They're simply distracted. They're overwhelmed. They're bombarded. They're being sold, and it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. I'm the civilian in the room. I'm not a broker. I am not a lender. I am not a real estate agent. I'm a human being and I am a potential client of yours, and I'm exhausted and tired of it. But the content that I continue to come back for, the content that, like Kaja said, makes her feel like she knows me and that it's shopping with friends instead of being sold, that's what is memorable. That's what fills our cup. And that's what strengthens the relationship that will matriculate into business down the line. And so, what I'm going to get into is a simple 3-part framework that you can keep in mind and implement as soon as 3:01 Eastern today, once we hop off this training. And it's really geared toward building what I like to call charisma. Now, I think each of us has our own essence of charisma. And charisma, I think, for a long time has been something that people think that, oh, they're born with it, they have it. Well, studies have shown and research has shown that charisma can be taught. So if you feel like you haven't been that person that walks in the room and everybody looks at you, or you put content out there and people engage and they leave comments and they share your content, right? I've got some good news. It's a skill that can be upskilled and can be taught. And that's what my C.A.P framework goes into. And it's very simple along the lines of doing less so that you can see more results. And then I'm going to share my Say Less Swipe file toward the end of the presentation, and then 52 easy to answer story prompts from my own personal brand vault that you all can immediately hop off this training, pull up your phone, hop into Instagram stories and respond to the prompt. And it's going to really just allow you to be more human and less feeling like you are, on stage having to be perfect and having to perform. Don't want you guys to feel like you have to perform. I just want you to be human. So that is what we're going to get into today. And let's talk about, though, what I was saying earlier, your audience being distracted. So this is the thing that I see where clients put content out and then they don't get an immediate result. And they think, well, why aren't they liking it? Why aren't they seeing it? Why aren't my views up? Why aren't their content? Here's the reality. When your client on the other side of the phone screen wakes up in the morning, by the time lunchtimes roll around, they've scrolled the height of the Statue of Liberty of content. That's a lot. That is insane. I've seen the Statue of Liberty in person once, and it is towering. And that is all of the input of information that they're getting bombarded with before they even have a chance to maybe see your content or respond to your text message or respond back to your email. And attention spans are short. One of my favorite creators and leaders in the space. He's based out of LA. His name is Sun Yi. And he said, and I disagreed with him at first, but now I've really seen the effect of leading with this mindset in mind, is that in social media, there's very little room for nuance. You really need to be clear until you can be clever, because people's attention spans are short and their patience is even shorter because of how often they're bombarded. And 70% of content is getting skipped on the daily. So if you thought that you're putting out content and you're getting skipped and you're getting scrolled past, you thought it was just you or you're the problem, you're not. Everyone is feeling this right now, not just you, but that also means that if you're, seeing this, that there are things that you can do to help you stand out and to help you do things differently and see different results. So what I want to ask you right now in the chat here for everybody listening in is, if I asked your best client why they love working with you, what would they say? What words would they use? What emojis? Stephen just dropped the heart emoji, right? What would your best VIP client say about why they loved working with you? Words, phrases, or something. Take your time to really reflect on this, because our clients leave clues about what's already worked, and we just need to not to, again, do more of more, but do less of more what's worked. So let's see here. Richard says reliable. Stacy, trusted. Patty says personable and easy to talk to. Yeah, we want to talk to humans. We want to be in business with humans. Fun and knowledgeable, communication, patience. Oh, the patience of Job. I swear, this industry, all industries. Ryan says determined. Kendall says attentive, responds quickly, educated, supportive. Steve with the wisdom. Yes. Being able to teach somebody something in 2 minutes that took you 2 years to learn. Very, very important. Committed. Okay. This is good. And this is going to make sense why we're getting into this. Smart, resourceful, Sydney says. Okay, keep those things coming in here too, because evidence of your brand, if you haven't been getting engagement on content and you're feeling kind of lost every time you put yourself out there, what your clients are saying and how they're feeling is evidence of your brand. And that's what you need to focus on and strengthen. We just need to, at the end of the day, give the people what they want, but we first need to listen. Okay, let's keep going here. So I want to share a quick story before I'm going to get into my charisma building framework, the C.A.P framework, because I have had a lot of clients come to me and say, I've been posting for a week or two, or I posted for 3 months and I didn't see anything. We want this instant gratification. And yet, when I would ask them about building relationships in their personal life with their spouse, with their children, with their best friends, I would be like, did you expect instant gratification? Did you expect a marriage proposal or a best friend's weekend getaway after knowing the person for 1 week? And the answer is often no. We don't expect instant gratification in our personal life relationships. And we need to remember that when it comes to putting ourselves out there online, because my exact experience, this happened from last June up until as recently as this February. So there was a client who saw me speak at the 1,000 Watt conference last June. She subscribed to my email list. I send out a monthly email newsletter that's now weekly, every Friday. And that was the last I had ever heard of it, heard from her. Trey says, will we be getting a copy of this? I'll punt that to Kasia and Jessica if we are going to have a replay of this. But Trey, thank you for tuning in now. We're getting into the meat of it, so you're right on time. So with this client in particular, she had subscribed to my email list and I didn't hear from her after that. I didn't even realize that she had subscribed to my email list because so many people had subscribed at the event. And I send out my monthly newsletter in July. I send it out in August, September, no response. No response whatsoever. October, November, December, nothing. Crickets. That's what like my little dots here are meaning. And then after 8 months of me consistently sending out my newsletter, she responds and she says, Kat, I saw you speak last year at the conference. You made such an impact. I immediately knew that I needed to stay in touch with you. And I have been reading every single email you have sent since last June. And you kept showing up, and everything that you have been saying is resonating. And this most recent email that you sent, talking about remembering how to market through optimism and through positivity versus fear and negativity, that's the exact type of speaker we need at our event in upstate New York. When can we hop on a call? I want to talk about getting you into the speaker lineup. And this was 8 months in the making. And I had no evidence whatsoever, no tangible, quantifiable, okay, she liked this, she responded to this, she left a comment for 8 months. And yet, if I had stopped, she would have never gotten to the point and had that opportunity to finally have the content click deep enough to where she says, you've got something that can help me solve a problem that I have going on in my business. And so I want us to start to think about and treat this more as a long-term relationship building journey instead of a quick and transactional. How many views and leads and likes and comments can we get? Becoming unscrollable means that you are not treating the person on the other side of the phone like it's a game. Social media has done a great job of gamifying relationship building, but we need to undo that. We need to put the human back into it and to do less, but to make people feel more. And that same study that was talking about us going into a social media recession was also talking about how brands are seeing lift across all of their marketing channels when they post less. This is the movement. Like, guys, we're in a very pivotal moment to become unscrollable. And this exact instance is one of many instances that I've seen happen when you commit to doing something long term and treating it more as a marathon instead of a sprint. Okay, let me know in the chat because we're on webinar, so I can't see your guys' lovely faces on video, but put a 1 in the chat if this is resonating. Put a 2 in the chat if this is really hitting home. Let me know. I would love to see that feedback because it kind of lets me know how we're doing. Okay, perfect. Put a 3 in the chat if you're like, oh my gosh, why was I not told this 5 years ago? Yeah, I know, right? Oh, well, like I said at the beginning, I can't get you more time, but I can help you do better with the time you have right now. Alexander, 1, 2, 3. I love it with the 3 options. Okay, amazing. We're going to keep going here and moving forward. All right, so the C.A.P framework, C.A.P. If you're going to screenshot something, I mean, you'll get this whole presentation, but if you're going to screenshot something, screenshot this because this is a really easy way. It's a 1, 2, 3 framework. We love threes. We love things that happen in threes, good things, not bad things. And this is how I look at being and building charisma online, basically making you unscrollable because people who have charisma are equal parts warm, right? They're relatable, they're authentic, they're vulnerable, not in a cringy TMI oversharing type of way, but in a way where Kaja was saying, I feel like I know her, just like I've gotten to know her and I've gotten to know Jessica. And I'm excited to further get to know everyone here on this call after today. Because in my mind, this is the first date. And it's the beginning of a beautiful relationship. You know, I'm not looking for that immediate payoff because I know the value of long-term relationship building. So C.A.P. C stands for clarity. You can write down clarity as well. We're 20 to 30% more likely to remember things that we physically write down. So even for the people who say, I'm not a pen and paper type of gal, be a pen and paper type of gal for just the next 10 minutes. Write down clarity if you're able to. So this is really understanding what your message is, what you want to be known for, right? That North Star of I want to be known for being able to help distill chaos in people's businesses and brands into crystal clear clarity. Because one of my brand mantras is when you know, you go. That's it. I'm very clear on that. I have a lot of conviction around that. And that clarity is just really being able to know that that's the one thing you want people to be known for. I want people to know that that's what I stand for. And I want them to feel emboldened. I want them to sit up straighter when they see my content, when they hear my message. That's clarity. That's that certainty in your tone of voice that makes people pause and go back. If they started to scroll past you, they scroll back on up. Danny says, I love the human over AI. Yes, Danny, and for everybody on here, lots of talk around AI, lots of noise around AI. In my opinion, with the rise of AI, that makes being more human your competitive edge. The more human you can be, and the more you can use AI to help you be more human, those people are going to be the ones that win. The people that try to outsource their humanity to AI will be generic, replaced, and forgotten. So I look at it as a win, and especially this day and age. Okay, this is clarity. A stands for alignment. We got to match the vibe. We got to read the room that we're in. I would not show up to a girls' night or a happy hour with my girlfriends in a suit and a blazer and with my like work tote and my like my spiky boot heels or whatever. I don't have spiky boot heels. I don't know why I said that. But I wouldn't show up to happy hour with the girls and that because it'd be like, Jesus, Kat, like, can you put the boss energy away? Like we're about to have some margaritas here. Nor would I show up to the Ryan's office in New York in my sweatpants or my Lululemon or my like little crop tops and with my hair pulled back and my makeup undone. That's not how I'm going to approach Sell It headquarters in New York, especially when I have a meeting with Ryan Serhant. We always think about this dressing for the occasion, right? Dressing for the role, showing up and coming correct, so to speak. We have to do the same thing. We get to do the same thing with the platforms. Lily says, totally agree, right? You got to come correct. Okay. So how you show up in Instagram stories is going to be different than how you show up in a feed post, is going to be different than how you show up in a LinkedIn post, is going to be different than how you show up in a Facebook post or an email, whether it's handwritten or a designed newsletter. So we need to align the message, not change the message, because then that creates inconsistency, which damages trust. But you take your message and you align it so that it matches the platform that you're on, so that the way that you carry yourself, the way you deliver your message is going to land and resonate with the person on the other side of the phone screen, however they're consuming your content. The one other quick thing that I want to just say here, has anybody put a one in the chat if you've ever heard the phrase, social media is a one-to-many platform? Put a one if you've heard that phrase. Danny's heard it. Mike. Okay. Brad. Yeah. A lot of people, right? One in the platform. Have you ever heard social media is a one-to-many platform? Okay. I'm going to be fully transparent with you guys, because the best things in life happen to me when I'm honest and transparent and vulnerable and authentic. I used to believe that too. I fully believe that. I would tell clients that. There is past workshop content with me saying that exact thing. I've now changed my mind, because I have seen and I have observed. So I have a stepdaughter. She's 18. So she's Gen Z, and she teaches me like all the TikTok, Snapchatty things that her elder millennial stepmom doesn't really understand. And I would watch her and observe her when we'd spend time together if she was on her phone, and she'd be sitting on her phone, like on the couch, just completely immersed in whatever it was that she was observing online or scrolling. Or, when she would like put herself to bed for the night, she'd be like in her bed, like winding down, like on her phone, just that screen, like her and the phone. And that was it. One to specific would be better. Yes, it would, Danny. I've now understood and really learned after observing her and really just observing my own habits of when I scroll social the most. It's when I'm alone. It's when you get pulled into that vortex. So social media is not a one-to-many platform. It's a one-to-one platform. It is the equivalent of FaceTiming somebody at this point, because of how it has evolved, because of how entrenched it is in our world. So aligning the platform and keeping in mind that it's a one-to-one platform. That's what social has become. It may not be what it had started, but that's what it is now. And that's how you can really become unscrollable, because when you feel like you're being talked to specifically, like when you get in trouble as a kid and your mom would call you by your full name, you'd be like, oh, yep, shit, what did I do? Right? We pay attention. We sit up and we like pay attention, because you're being spoken directly to. That's what we need to go for with alignment and keeping in mind that social is one-to-one platform. Now, the third element is presence. This is what I have worked on a lot. This is why I think charisma is an essential ingredient in upskilling yourself with this particular talent, this skill, because it's going to help you be equal parts warm and equal parts competent. In fact, I'm going to put that in the chat. Charisma equals warmth, being relatable, and competence. So being warm and competent, being relatable and knowledgeable is going to allow you those key ingredients to be able to feel like people can break through that digital barrier and send you a DM or drop a comment. It's going to lower their guard because they can relate to you and they trust you enough to ask a question because you are also competent. That's the key ingredient. That's the dynamic mix, the dynamic recipe. And that's what goes into presence. And that just comes with practice. I can't shortcut the practice for any of you. And I think some of you listening in on this call will score really high on the warmth, which is amazing. I don't want you to think that if you score higher on warmth and you're not seen as professional or knowledgeable enough, or you haven't been in the industry long enough, or you haven't done business in that state or that specific zip code or with that specific type of client, that you're not going to get the business, because that's not true. And some of you might be scoring really high on competence, but no matter how smart you are, if somebody doesn't feel like they can relate to you, like they can trust you, and you can break down those defenses and lower their guard in a very low trust world, they're not going to do business with you. They're going to choose somebody else that they resonate with more. That's what I want you to keep in mind. That's the ingredients in presence, and human over AI. Use AI to be more human. Don't use AI just to shortcut and to save yourself the mental agony of needing to think critically and to be a human being. We don't want it to rob. We don't want to let that rob it from us. Okay. We're going to be approaching a poll here as we get into the CAP framework. So actually, Jessica, would you be able to throw up our first poll? I want to know, now that we've talked about the framework, what's the biggest challenge from your perspective when it comes to showing up online? There's no wrong answers. This is completely anonymous. I just want to know where we are in the room, right? So I can tailor breaking down this framework even more to what's going on. So thank you so much for voting. Keep on dropping your responses in the poll, guys. I see a lot of predominantly, I don't know what to say. You feel awkward on camera. Oh, I hear you. All of the above. Yes. Say less, right? Very few of you. You're afraid nobody's paying attention. Okay, that's good. I love that we don't have a lot of people saying I don't have time, because you'll make the time for things that matter. But again, I do have empathy for the fact that we weren't born content creators. It definitely, uh, is a skill you can build. Jorge says, can we edit the poll? Jorge, if actually for anybody, if you don't see a response that resonates there, drop it in the chat. What for you in your words? Because I care about what you guys are struggling with. What's the biggest challenge? Lori's dropping it in there. Jorge, drop it as well. Lori says, delivering interesting information that holds and draw interest, that drives action. I hear you, Lori. The TLDR is if you can activate emotion, you can drive action. We're going to get into that today. Cindy says, editing is horrible. Yes. I think, Sydney, you're going to love that you can align content and avoid having to do a lot of editing if you're showing up in certain places. So that's going to be a nice shortcut. Danny says, long-winded. Yeah. I hear you. I love to use ChatGPT to help like refine my talking points to make sure I don't ramble. Editing seems to be the big thing. Okay. Editing and not knowing what to say, feeling awkward on camera, not sure what to post. Yeah. Not sure what to post, not sure what to say. Leah says, who's your audience? Yep. Who you're speaking to. Denise says, our funny things perform really well. True content is ignored. There we go. So that's where Denise, great example. You've got the warmth from the funniness, right? But you need the competence too. And we need to find a way to blend the two so that people don't just drop a like, but also book on your calendar. But that's good. That's good to know. This is good insight. Okay. I'm going to keep the poll running. Keep voting if you guys haven't yet voted, although we have 100 of you guys already voting with 158 on you. Love it. Christopher says posting relevant content is the hardest. Yeah, I hear you. I think the story prompts that I have for you guys toward the end of this call are going to be very helpful in understanding what's relevant, because here's my little mini TED talk on relevance. Relevance really just comes from saying and speaking to what is resonant for you. What carries weight? What gets you up in the morning? What pisses you off when you see the morning headlines misguiding and misleading your clients? What do people need to hear? Not what they necessarily maybe want to hear, but what they need to hear. Sam says, getting people to engage or comment. I know. I'll say, Sam, I'll ask you, when was the last time you asked somebody to comment in your content? We can start there. Okay, I want to keep an eye on time and be respectful of everybody's time. We're going to keep going, but keep dropping these in the chat because this is really good insight for me. So let's continue. Can leave the poll up for a little bit longer, Jessica. Let's talk about clarity. C is for clarity. So here's an example. This is an exercise for you to think about, for you to reflect on after this training. Can you pull up the timer app on your phone and in 30 seconds clearly explain what it is that you do? That's an exercise. So write down 30-second impact video. Can you do that in 30 seconds? I'll go on a limb and say the majority of you probably can't, but that's okay because neither could I. I definitely rambled and wasn't able to really clearly distill what it was that I did and what the value was that I provided. But it comes from practice and it comes from starting to write it down, because being able to be unscrollable means, again, saying less and meaning more. And that comes from being able to be very clear, and it is what you do. Help you evolve your voice and stand out sans burnout. That's probably the simplest nugget pitch of what it is that I do. Help you evolve, whether to rebrand or reinvention, your voice, because everything in your brand and in your content starts with what you have to say and how you say it, right? That's your voice. And I want you to do it without burnout, sustainably, long game, 8-month lurker to lead. Remember? Patrick says, yes, I can. Okay, Patrick, drop it in the chat. Here we go. I got into mortgages because I'm passionate about helping people get ahead in real estate so they can be financially free someday. That's your origin story. I would challenge you to say helping people get ahead in real estate so they can be financially free someday. What does financially free mean? That's where I would challenge and really like think about that. Ryan says probably, but it's easier said than done. Everything's easier said than done, truly. The Say Less Swipe file that I'm going to be sharing at the end of today's session is going to help you go through even more exercises to be able to clarify this. And then the other thing too, on the other end of it, is really understanding what's the specific solution you're known for, right? So in mortgage, in real estate, in whatever industry that you are in, even if you are a marketer who is representing a lending firm or a real estate brokerage, what's the specific thing? Again, less is more. I'm sure you probably have 10 different elements to your value prop. I want one. For me, I focused on voice because branding is very broad, right? There's so much involved in branding. I just specifically focus on voice, knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it. So really think about, distill it down, be relentless in chopping away anything that just feels like fluff, that feels generic, that feels like it could be copy and pasted onto somebody else's profile or somebody else's website. Because if it can be copy and pasted onto somebody else's website, it's not memorable, it will be forgotten, and you're not going to stand out. You're just going to blend in. And developing charisma and leveraging this framework is about standing out, not blending in. Patrick says, good thought. Yes, let's. Again, beginning of a new journey today. Okay, let's see here. All right, as we go into alignment, Jessica, if you could end this current poll and put up our next poll. And thank you to everybody who voted for the first time. Not knowing what to say, definitely going to support you with our story prompts that we have coming up. Let's see here. Let's actually share. I hit share the results so you guys can see where people were dropping off. A lot of people saying, I don't know what to say. I feel awkward on camera. All of the above, and then everything else that you contributed in the chat. Now, what I want to move forward and have our next poll talk about is alignment. So, which platform of what's listed feels the most like you right now? Like you don't have to put on a hat or pull a rabbit out of a hat or perform. Okay, so we've got people coming in. We say, leading the pack, Instagram stories. LinkedIn coming up, Facebook, very community driven. Yep. Okay. Few of you are saying none of them feels right. Kylie says TikTok. Kylie, can you tell I'm an elder millennial? I didn't put TikTok on this one. Okay, so you could say none of the above, Kylie, but thank you for putting TikTok in there. Dustin, Instagram Reels. Okay, that's good. Ryan, Facebook. All right, keep those votes coming in and moving forward. So this is, if you need the TLDR of how to align what you are going or how you're going to say what your message is on these platforms. Anthony says phone calls. Okay. Alexander says MySpace. Alexander, where are my elder millennials at? I love it. Okay. Think about here with Instagram stories, LinkedIn, and email as the example. I think it was Denise that asked, how do we get people to not scroll past? We do that by being able to meet them where they're at so that they actually know that we're there to be met. Right? We don't want to be like ships passing in the night. So Instagram stories is relatable. You want to be warm. You want to show behind the scenes. Any one of you who put in the chat, I hate editing. Girl, I feel you. I don't really appreciate it as well. I didn't aspire to be a video editor as a child. Okay. I just wanted to help people be more of themselves, speak up, find their voice, all of those good things. You don't have to do any editing for Instagram stories. If you hate editing and you want to be more warm to gain more comments, to start more conversations in your DMs that is going to lead to more connections and more relationships and more business, y'all got to go all in on Instagram stories. 1 to 2 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week. You start there. I'm giving you full permission. You do not have to do any sort of editing for this type of content. And the more behind the scenes it is, the more relatable it is, the more effective. Because emotion drives action. That's what it is. If you are only speaking to the facts and features of what it means to work with you, for example, what the rates are, what the products are that you offer, what your process is as a business, those are facts and features. That's not emotion. Facts and features don't drive action. Emotion drives action. So if you want to see more momentum, more action in your content, it's going to start with speaking to emotion. And these are the emotional shortcuts of these different platforms. So for LinkedIn, it's very much authority, right? It has a more professional leaning angle. It's not very much about visuals, right? It's about wins and lessons. What did you win? or what did you win or what did you learn, right? Ryan says, time is usually tight regarding editing. It can be tight, but then you can also delegate. There's a million and one ways to skin a cat, as my grandpa would like to say. So we can always find ways to edit when you need to. But what I'm saying is if you are tight on time for editing, start with Instagram stories and you can start building those brand moments and those brand connections and becoming unscrollable with just doing Instagram stories. Like I said at the top of this call, let's do less, okay? And have more impact. Kylie says, how do you reach more people on Instagram stories? I thought you can only see them if they're following you. Exactly. So Kylie, great question. Purpose of Instagram stories, to deepen connection and engagement with your existing community. That's the purpose. So if you have even 50 followers on your Instagram profile, that's enough to garner business. Trust me, I've seen it with clients. And the purpose of Instagram stories is to get people to talk to you that haven't talked to you, that maybe just drop a like on your stories. They don't engage with your feed. Stories deepen that connection. Feed posts, reels, carousels, based on how the algorithm has evolved, will help you reach new people. But if you already have people, let me tell you, the best way to get more people into your world is to be good to the people you already have. That's why Instagram stories is first. That's why the 52 Instagram story prompts that I'm sharing from my vault are exclusively focused on that because it's low lift and high impact. But great question, Kylie. Danny says, showing the process seems to be winning. Yes, you're showing the process because it's behind the scenes. People want to see behind the curtain. They want to see the receipts, right? Okay. Keep voting. If you haven't already voted, it looks like Instagram stories seems to be leading the pack. Let's get into presence. And actually, Jessica, I'd love to share the results with everybody here as we get into presence. So let's end the poll. And then I want to share the results because right now, 36% of you on this call together feel most comfortable on Instagram stories, which from a consulting standpoint tells me that's where we need to begin because it's the lowest friction and the easiest to get you into action. And Dustin's asking, can you jump straight to stories if you don't have much on your feed? Absolutely. Absolutely. Nowhere in the history of mankind are people going to go to your stories and going to go to your feed and going to say, well, he's only been posting this much or he hasn't posted that much. Stories pop up in a completely different area and are prioritized based on engagement versus the algorithm in your feed based on recommendation. So I say, Dustin, yes, don't let the fact that you don't have a pretty feed hold you back from showing up in Instagram stories. If you have at least 50 followers, start showing up there because those 50 people know 6 people who know 6 people who know 6 people. So when I look at anybody's follower account, I'm like, okay, if they're real people and they're not purchased, the exponential impact of you building relationships and building connections with them is 5 to 10 times the actual follower count. And Mike says 1 or 2 strategies to increase the amount of followers. Be good to the followers you already have, Mike. Like I said, less is more. You create that compounding effect of being good to the people you have to be so good and so supportive and so warm and so knowledgeable and so stand out. People can't help but talk about you, but share your content. And the ideal is when you are so good to the people that are already following and connecting with you, that they take your content and share it to your story, to their stories. And then their followers, their community, their connections see your content. And that is the best and most truest way to win, not to win, but to grow your reach through the people you already have in your world. That is the most sustainable, the most organic, and the most ROI rich way that I have seen service-based professionals build online with the way that social is moving and where it is moving to. Human over AI, remember? And presence, P, the last element in the C.A.P framework. It's not about perfection. Perfection is a myth that was sold to us, especially the high performers, especially the firstborn children of any family that had all of the expectations put on them. Hi, it's me. I want you to think about putting yourself out there, not in terms of creating content, but in terms of documenting. I want everybody on this call, on this training, live and watching the replay, to think of themselves instead of a content creator, think of themselves as a content documentarian. You're simply documenting what you are doing in your day-to-day, how you are helping people, funny moments to be human, and you're talking like you would as if you were talking to a best friend. a trusted friend, somebody who's coming to you for advice. Troy says, should you always follow back on IG? Up to you, Troy. Do you want to remain in contact with that person? Do you have common ground? Can you build a mutually beneficial relationship with that person? Then yes. Don't feel like you are obligated to. Don't do anything out of obligation. People can sniff that. They can sense that. That's transactional. So I would say if you do feel that you can build a mutually beneficial relationship with somebody on Instagram, follow back. Nancy says, you still have to feel very comfortable making videos, and that is a struggle for a lot of people. Absolutely. It is a struggle. However, everything was a struggle until it became easy for us. And being able to connect on social and expand your network near exponentially is becoming a non-negotiable in the way that we build our businesses this day and age. Because you can connect with someone via text, via email, social keeps you top of mind. And the more that they have those impactful moments where you are top of mind, the stronger that connection is going to be. And I'm sure, Nancy, when you first got into mortgage, or when anybody first got into mortgage, or anybody first got into content like I did, it's not natural. There are some people who might have taken to it really easily, really early, but I am years into the game of building my skills of presence on camera. And which is why I created this framework, because this is the easiest way that I have broken down how I've been able to achieve the on-camera presence and the comfortability that I have when I do hit record. It's a skill. It's not a God-given talent. I have a few talents. That's not one of them. I worked hard to upskill, just like everybody on this call works really hard to upskill themselves, to educate themselves on the latest products, to educate themselves on what's going on with their rates, the national news, the global market. We weren't born naturally knowing how to talk about all of that, how to research all of that. That wasn't ingrained. It's a skill. We devote our time to it. This is a skill that you can also devote your time to. And like I said, the more you do it, the easier it'll get, like going to the gym. Cyril says, I was going to ask you how to document your content, and I've seen a video of you taking a big stand on that. It'd be great if you can reiterate more on documenting content. Yes. People want to be taken along for the ride. You know, I think the story prompts that I'm going to share at the end of this call are examples of how you can capture and record and share content. So actually, let's keep going. Oops, I don't want to do a close-up of me doing bar here. Let's talk about actually documenting your content. So we're talking a lot about Instagram stories. It seems like there's lots of questions about that, which I love. So there's 3 different ways that you can do that, right? You can share insights, you can connect, you can show behind the scenes process. I really think it's just about what are those moments throughout your day where you say something and it makes an impact on somebody. I know every single person on this call has had those moments where they have said something to a client and the client's like, wow, Christine, I have never thought about it that way. Thank you so much. Like, think back to your most successful client, your favorite client. What are the things that you have said to them that have made an impact, that make them think differently, that make them show gratitude? Those are the moments and the things to document and to share online. Christine says, I decided to stop worrying how I looked on camera. I do the video post. The feedback as I get that I come across as natural. Yeah, Christine, and for Nancy too, and for anybody, and for Kat in 2018, your clients already know what you look like, and they don't seem to hate you. So what you look like is what you look like. That now, with the advent of content and social, we are just seeing more of what we look like. And it can be a little jarring. It can feel a little weird when you're like staring at a camera, but that's where I would really encourage everybody to think about whatever the name is of that favorite client. In fact, drop the name of your favorite client in the chat here. I'll drop mine. It's one of like my most recent ones. Her name's Michelle. Recently started working with her. Love her. Shout out to Michelle. Nancy, you and Shane, Sana with Jorge. Next time you pick up the phone, I want you to pretend that you're talking to Sana or that you're talking to Kevin. Kevin, that's not you. Are we talking to yourself? Are you your favorite client? I'm kidding. Trisha is Kristen, right? Trisha, pretend like you would be FaceTiming Kristen, sending her an update, sharing a funny moment. Sam, when you're talking to Phil, how would you talk to Phil? That's how you need to talk about when you are hitting record, when you're popping onto Instagram or sharing a win or a lesson on LinkedIn. Claudia says all of them. Claudia, you are blessed. I love that. Bianca, Genevieve. The easiest hack I can share is to really speak as if you're talking to your favorite client. Billy, this far. Yes, I love that. Yet. in there, Ryan. Ryan, how would you talk to Billy? That's how you need to talk online. You don't need to be perfect. You're not talking to a stage of thousands. Remember, social's a one-to-one platform, not a one-to-many. Okay. Keeping an eye on time. I know we've started to do Q&A. I want to still have some time for that. Story Vault that we're going to share. 52 story prompts that you can use. And in fact, once we get into the Q&A, I'll just actually drop that document right into the chat so that you guys can get it. Spend 10 minutes a week answering one prompt a week for the next 52 weeks. And you've got content for a year. And all of this can be shared on Instagram stories. And I've already written the questions for you. You just have to respond as if you and I were having a conversation. Because right now you and I are having a conversation. You're joining in from your laptop, you're joining in from your phone, or while you're driving, right? In between nap times. Okay, I have a lot of friends with young kids. It's just you and me talking. That's how I want you to answer those prompts. Patrick says, I have to say it's one of the best talks on creating content live. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Susan says, sometimes I get too personal with my clients and I don't know how it makes them feel. Ooh, yes. Okay, quick little TED talk. And then in the next few moments, we're going to wrap up and do official. We can hop off mute Q&A. How much is too much to share online? The line I want you to think about and keep in mind, you can write this down. I'm actually going to drop it in the chat. And it is the phrase, share scars, not wounds. So whatever it is that you're going through right now, deal falling through, client freaking out on you, kid is sick and they're home and their nanny canceled on you or you don't have a nanny, never share when you're in the midst of the chaos. We don't share open wounds. We don't share open things that we're still working through, that we're still trying to resolve. You're going to share the scars after you've already moved through whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is, so that you can share the wisdom of what you've learned after going through that experience. If you keep that in mind, share scars, not wounds, you will very, very rarely ever have to question if you're oversharing or not. Danny said, I heard it. If you need to whisper it, don't share. That's good. Story to glory. Yeah, Lynn. Oh yeah. My come up in 2018, which that was one of the pictures that I shared, the bell cart. 2018, everything I owned could fit on a bell cart. 2025, made a lot of money from my story now, from helping others, from empowering others, emboldening others. Okay. And these prompts, by the way, guys, are the prompts that I use with my private clients. So it's not just like, prompts that are going to make you seem unprofessional. They're going to make you seem more human in an AI soaked world. And that is a win for everyone. Kendall says, this is brilliant. Thank you, Kendall. Thank you. Okay. Long game, right? This is what everyone is going to go through after today. I'm telling you right now, this is what you're going to go through. You're going to download the 52 story prompts. You're going to get my Say Less Swipe file. You're going to implement all the things because you're awesome action takers. And I'm going to set the expectation that nothing might happen in the first month right now. But that's good news because this is what awaits in the future. This is what your pipeline can look like 6 months from now, 10 months from now, to the point where you probably have to hire team members to help you handle all of the business that you have coming in. And then you can delegate and scale. The people who are lurking, you've got 50 followers, only 10 of them are seeing your Instagram stories. The 40 or so, those are lurkers. You put out a post and 2 people like it, but you've got 800 or so followers. That's fine. They're lurkers. Just because there's not physical evidence doesn't mean you're not making an impact. That's what I want everyone to keep in mind. And I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid right now because it's the long game. The only ones who are going to survive this massive social media recession, the whole larger national and global scene that we're in, are the ones that keep their eye on the long game. And I don't want you to think that just because the audience is invisible, they don't matter to your business. Because that client who waited 8 months to reach out to me, if I just said, well, nobody's talking to me. Imagine if you're having a conversation with somebody, they're seeing everything you're putting out, and then all of a sudden they hear you say, well, Jessica, you're not even listening to me. So I'm just gonna walk away. Jessica be like, what? I'm here. I'm listening. May not be dropping a like, may not be dropping a comment. We don't want to do that to our people. When Cyril says, when you share wounds, you're seeking pity. When you share scars, you empower people. Yes, exactly. I agree. Okay. Scan the QR code. You guys are going to get the Say Less Swipe file, the 52 story prompts. I'm also going to see if I can I copy that? Yeah, boom. Gotta love technology. I will drop this URL in the chat as well, but Scan this QR code. You're going to get these two things delivered right to your inbox. You can start responding to the prompts as soon as we hop off here today. But please take advantage. And it looks like it won't let me drop the URL until I stop sharing my screen and make it smaller. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I believe we're going to open it up for Q&A now. I'm going to leave the screen on for just a little bit longer. But is there anybody who wants to drop a question in the chat here? And we can have you hop off mute and we'll do some live kind of hot seat coaching. It's like my favorite type of coaching. Um, let's see here. Bianca says I have to hop off. All good. So glad. Thank you for joining, Bianca. Actually, let's do this. If somebody has a question to ask, drop a 1 in the chat and we'll go through. That way you don't have to spend time typing your question in the chat. Or if we've answered all the questions. I'm sure there's more. Okay, Patrick. Let's start with you. We'll go for as long as we need. Patrick, do you want to hop off mute?
Yep.
Beautiful. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
right.
so I am a bit of a jokester. So to show up on Instagram with integrity and authenticity would mean probably some things that have nothing to do with mortgage, but are just fun, or almost like an outtake of something I was trying to do seriously. Feel like that gets people to know you better.
Yeah.
Are those things that you see that work well?
Yes. So here's what I would do, Patrick, because remember, presence and charisma is from warmth and competence. So it sounds like, Patrick, you have a lot of warmth, a lot of, humor, relatability. We love self-deprecation. What I would challenge you to do on your next skit or your next outtake, right, that you're sharing, find a way to weave in what it is that you do and the knowledge that you have. So, Patrick, can you share an example of a recent skit or funny thing that you recorded? Just so I have that for context.
So one of the first videos I did when I came to the company was just, here's who I am, here's what I do. But I've recorded like several short, just ridiculous things. One of which was me walking away from the camera, just turning real fast and saying, "You want mortgages? Because I got money." And that was it. And it's just like, I think that actually would be awesome. But my wife said that probably shouldn't be your first post. So I agreed.
Okay.
But yeah, just something ridiculous like that.
Okay. So here's what I would say. I would say, and do you use ChatGPT, Patrick, for like brainstorming content?
I'm 42, so I can almost get on it and use it. Yeah.
Almost. We're upskilling, right? We are upskilling. That's what today's about. So, Patrick, what I would say is share a couple examples in chat. And you can use these prompts too, and the say less information as well, because there's lots of good stuff to really deepen what we've talked about today. Go into chat and say, hey, I lead with really funny content that's really warm and relatable. I want to find ways to appear more competent while not sacrificing my relatability.
Okay.
Can you give me some talking points to weave into the next outtake or the next funny moment that I will share online? Because I think, Patrick, you score high on warmth, which is great, but to convert and to up level in your business, we also need to score high on competence. So I think that's going to be the next best step for you to take to evolve your content, evolve your voice. There we go. There's my clarity message. And feel free, Patrick, DM me the next time you post a new piece of content with this kind of new dynamic approach. Does that sound good?
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, awesome. Elisa was next. Elisa Riken, are you able to hop off mute? You still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. What's your question, Elisa?
Okay, so I'm wondering, obviously I have not read through your story prompts yet, but I'm thinking if I'm answering a question based on the prompt, how much time do I want to take? You say less is more. You don't want it to get too long, but then how brief do you be to get your point across? I guess that's where I kind of get hung up sometimes.
Totally, Elisa. So let's just do this right now. I pulled up the prompts. Let's just pull up one here and let's riff on it. Elisa, pick a number 1 through 10.
Let me close my chat so I can see it again.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Just pick a number. Don't pick based on the prompt. Just pick a number.
Number 1.
Okay, beautiful. All right. What's a belief you had about your industry that you're no longer believe? Ooh, okay. Let me demonstrate how I would do this, and then maybe you can riff a little and then take this and chew on it as an example. So for me, if I were to answer this, let's say I'm going to do it in Instagram stories. I would say As a brand consultant, I used to believe social media was a one-to-many platform. I've now since been corrected, and I believe it's a one-to-one platform. And I believe that because I've seen how my stepdaughter and how myself and the people around me engage with social media when when they're by themselves. I wonder, do you agree or disagree? That's how I would answer that prompt. So for you, Elisa, what profession are you in? Mortgage, real estate?
Mortgage.
You're in mortgage. Okay. How long have you been in mortgage?
2 years.
What were you doing before?
Nursing.
Elisa, I'm a former nursing school dropout. Yes. We have that in common. I love it. Common ground, guys. Okay, Elisa, when you were in nursing, what did you believe about mortgage that now you no longer believe now that you work in mortgage?
I believed that people who worked in mortgage were, for lack of better words, in it for the money and not to help people compared to as a nurse in a service industry. I felt like I was helping people all the time. I didn't know how that crossover happened.
Mm,
Now, since I have been in mortgage, I realize that we're helping people just the same, just in a different area of their lives. Buying a home is a big deal. It's emotional, it's stressful. It's one of the biggest things people will do in their lives. So to have somebody to help them, serve them, and guide them is really important.
Elisa, that was beautiful. And you now have a recording of yourself saying that, so you can use that. And I recommend taking it to chat and working to refine it, really go through that CAP framework. And Elisa, the question at the end, which a question is a form of a call to action, is I would say, what has been your experience in working with mortgage officers or working with your lender or your last lender?
Oh, that's good.
Right? Because then that tells the audience, that tells me, oh, Elise is talking to me. She wants to know what my experience has been. And if there is anybody who works in nursing or knows somebody who works in nursing, if you lead off with that response to that prompt saying, when I used to work in nursing, this is honestly what I thought about lenders. That's going to create that warmth, that connection, that relatability. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. I saw Denise had to hop off, but Kendall, if you're still on with us, do you still have your question? You ready to hop off mute? Kendall
Hi
says she
there.
can't find. Oh,
I
yay, Kendall, you're
it
here.
popped up.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
My
Um,
pleasure.
I'm I'm wondering on IG stories
Mhm.
that seem to be the place to be these days. If you're going to do 4 or 5 a week, how many percent wise would you say would be more personal and how many would be more business? Or does all of them have to combine both?
Beautiful. So the way that I like to think about it is, Kendall, you are a multifaceted human being, just like me, just like everybody on this call. So I would say if you're unsure of what mix to start with, pull one from each category because there's 5 categories here on the prompts, actually 6 categories. So pull one from each category. This that has a mix of personal and professional. So you'll be able to hit that mix. And then based on how your audience is responding and how you feel responding to these, then you can do a little bit more of one bucket or the other over time.
Got it. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, Jessica, I think we got all the questions in the chat. And I know
think
we're
there
almost
was
at time.
one more, if you have time
Oh,
for
there
one
was?
more.
Yeah.
Annie Espinoza wanted to ask you something about YouTube.
My
But
man, Danny. All right.
there we
Fifth
go.
time is the charm. Danny, are you able to hop off mute?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I know this is more YouTube. I know I answered that Instagram is a little bit easier, but I've
Yeah.
been wanting to make YouTube the platform that I use for everything and then branch off to with shorts into Instagram. So I
Okay.
know the thing is with YouTube is what's drawing the attention there is answering specific questions. And
Hmm.
it's hard to do that in 30 seconds. That's why I said I need a minute, right? When I was joking around. But it's when you're answering specific questions to one person, let's say you're answering one person on something that you know you just gone through, but you're doing the video as if you're talking to that person.
Yeah.
YouTube gives you the ability to say, hey, I'm gonna take 5 minutes on this because I know I can turn into shorts and people can jump in and get the whole answer. What are your thoughts on exploring YouTube in that way and say, okay, well, you want to do that, then use the other platforms to draw your attention to YouTube and grow your audience there.
Yes. So two questions. One, if you can answer it succinctly, and if you can't, that's all good. Why do you want to build your platform on YouTube?
It seems like YouTube is honestly the first place people are going to for real answers that want to do something. I know I find myself there. Just about everybody that I associate with does something on YouTube, or when you want an answer on how to, YouTube pops up, and on anybody's website, YouTube is the platform. So that's kind of the reason why behind it, right? Because Instagram could change, where YouTube has been the giant that's dominating search engines. So
right,
unless that changes, but that's why I'm figuring, okay, I've had a YouTube since 2010 with one video, right? And that's changed in the last year. So,
okay.
but that's the thing. I'm trying to focus more on, okay, let me focus on YouTube, so I'm not just all over the place, and I can branch from there.
Yes. So, you're honing in on the vibe, right? The emotion of YouTube is really people wanting to do their homework before they talk to somebody. Or also people who think they can DIY something without hiring a professional, right? Like my husband is on YouTube all the time teaching himself new things because he doesn't want to talk to somebody or be sold something, right? He wants to figure it out for himself or research. So I think knowing that that's the vibe, the way that I would approach it is start with making your longer form, and longer form just maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Don't make it longer than that to start. You got to earn your way into longer content and make it fully on the behind the scenes of the how and the process of your business. I would, Danny, create content that says, hey, if you don't want to hire me to be your lender, totally cool. Here's everything you need to know. And then for your shorts, you pull out one, like let's say it's a 5-step process. I'm just using that number. You have one element of that process as one short, so you get 5 shorts out of it. So that people are like, well, where's the rest of the process? Then they click through to the longer video. And spoiler alert, they will hire you because nobody understands truly what it takes to be a lender or a real estate agent except lenders and real estate agents. That's what I would do.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds great. Thank you.
My pleasure. No, thank you to everyone. And I know we went a little over, Jessica. I wanted to make sure we got to all the questions. So thank you for that extra time.
Kat, this was absolutely amazing. I can't thank you enough for being here today, being our guest speaker. I have one last question for everyone. If today left you inspired, please put a 1 in the chat. Kat did amazing, and we're so thankful that she was able to be here today. So with that being said, thank you again for all of you guys for joining today. We will have another Social Media University in Q3, which I can't believe we're already going to be in Q3 here soon. So stay in touch with your Sierra Pacific partner, and we will send out more details soon. But thank you guys so much for being here today, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.